Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are continuing our coverage of the main card of UFC 174 right now with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. And Nick Kalikas, of course, is a professional MMA odds maker and a consultant for numerous high-profile sports books when it comes to MMA odds making and betting. And also joining us on the phone from MMAOddsBreaker.com is Brad Tazchuk. All right, guys, Rory MacDonald and Tyron Woodley. And this is maybe a much better fight than the main event here. You know, both these guys are excellent welterweights, and they've had some very impressive results recently. Woodley, of course, beat Carlos Condit, Josh Koscheck, both very impressive fights. But Rory MacDonald, you know, he has lost a split decision to Robbie Lawler and dominated Damian Maia. So, of course, there's going to be a competitive line here right now at 5 dimes. I'm seeing Tyron Woodley at -140, MacDonald at +120. I guess the first thing that you want to ask is, of their recent performances, which has been more impressive? I think you got to say Woodley, right, Brad Tazchuk?
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah. You know, Rory MacDonald, a lot of people seemed impressed by him against Damian Maia. I wasn't particularly one of them. Maia doesn't have the greatest wrestling in the world, although, you know, he's pretty good. But you know, we still have seen that Rory, even though his output was a little bit higher in that fight, it's just not enough to match the skill level, because you can see that he's got all the tools. He just doesn't really seem to put them all together as well as he should.
Okay, Nick Kalikas, I'll ask you the same question. You know, MacDonald dominated Damian Maia, according to most people's opinions. For that lost split decision to Robbie Lawler, but Woodley beat Koscheck and Carlos Condit. Which impresses you more?
You know what? I guess I'll probably be, you know, on the other side in most cases here with this, but I would think MacDonald, honestly.
Really?
He impressed a little bit more. Yeah, because he's been in through some wars. I mean, Woodley's fights have ended pretty quick. I mean, credit him, no doubt about it. But, you know, that fight with Condit was a little bit flukish, how that ended, how it went down. And, of course, I mean, Woodley looked great in that Koscheck fight, too. So I just think that MacDonald has fought the better competition as far as, pushing himself recently, and he's going to continue to improve his overall game. I mean, the guy's so young, and he continues to develop in all areas of the game. So I would say, honestly, MacDonald, even though he didn't perform maybe to expectations overall, I still think that he's been put through the harder test, and he's come out on top overall.
Right. I mean, I have to think the game plan here is that to avoid Woodley's massive power, MacDonald's going to want to take the fight to the ground. The question is, you know, even if he does that, does he have a wrestling advantage over Woodley, and is it big enough? And if the answer to that is no, then Woodley at -140 has to be great. What do you make of all that, Brad Tazchuk?
Well, I don't think that Rory's going to try and take it to the ground here. I think that's going to be very difficult for him if he does attempt to do that. And I actually think, if anything, Woodley might be the one taking it down.
Really?
Because we've seen a few times now that even though he's got that big power, Rory can be taken down by pretty much anyone who commits to taking him down. You know, Jake Ellenberger really only did one thing in that fight. He had one little flurry where he came forwards and had a little bit of success. Damian Maia did the same thing in his fight, even when he was, you know, gassed in the third round, he was able to take MacDonald down. So I think that Woodley might go with that strategy a little bit more, and I do like him at 140 here.
Yeah, Nick Kalikas, it sounds like you'd be leaning on MacDonald here at +120, if anything.
Yeah, I think you got to go with the plus money, honestly. I mean, this fight card, especially the main card, is so competitive. I mean, we're talking about some great fights here, and this is one of them. I think they're all basically coin flip type of fights, so I'd prefer to be on the dog side of things here. I agree with Brad completely. I mean, if anybody gets takedowns in this fight, especially early on, it's going to be Woodley. It's not going to be MacDonald. I mean, Woodley's probably going to look to take it to the floor and try to control a little bit. Woodley also does have that devastating knockout power, but MacDonald is the better overall fighter. I mean, he's got the better striking overall on the feet. He could throw more variety of attacks. He can mix things up. His takedown defense is decent enough that after round one, I think he probably will be able to manage and maintain it on the feet. And after round one, again, Woodley's power is probably not going to be as much of a threat. So, yeah, I'm slightly leaning towards MacDonald in this fight, honestly, because I just don't trust Woodley's cardio enough. If there's been any problem in his overall game, it's that he tends to fade as the fight goes on. Now, he's lucky this is a co-main event type of fight and not a main event, because if it was a five-round fight, I'm sure most people would change their bets as well, but I would be all over MacDonald. There'd be no doubt about it. I would definitely take MacDonald if it was 5. But since it's 3, Woodley could possibly steal 2 out of 3 rounds, but I still think round 2 and round 3 is going to be interesting, and it could favor MacDonald here.
All right. What do you think about that, Brad Tazchuk? Do you think that Woodley's cardio is a concern that we're not giving enough credence to?
Well, I think it's exactly what Nick said. If it was a 5-round fight, and it's kind of a shame that this isn't a 5-round fight, both of these guys deserve it, especially over some of the recent main events we've seen. Stipe Maldonado. This is a better fight than Musasi and Munoz that was, last week as well. So this is definitely deserving of 5 rounds. And in that 5-round fight, I would definitely side with MacDonald, but over 3 rounds, I think that Woodley has managed to, do exactly that, manage his cardio. He's pacing himself a little bit better, and I think over 3 rounds, he's still the side here.
Nick Alikas, where'd you open this line? Where are people betting?
Actually, I opened at -150 for Rory, so obviously it was a bad opener there. Yeah, but that being said, typically Rory gets a ton of respect out there. So I kind of went. It's a pick'em fight again, with a very, very slight lean towards Rory because of his skill set. Period. But that being said, most of the time when I open a MacDonald line, they bet it up. Wow. I mean, so he's lost a little bit of respect from the overall betting public for sure. And Woodley has gained some respect because that's what I've noticed right away. I mean, what stands out, because typically you see Rory's line climb. I mean, a lot of people believe he's the next, eventual reign at 170. He's the next guy that's going to hold on the title for a long time. I think they believe so, at least to take over kind of GSP status over there. So he's lost that kind of respect. So I opened it that way a little bit more because I figured the public would side with him, but it's definitely a competitive fight.
No, yeah, and maybe you're right. Maybe it's an overreaction, a public overreaction to Woodley's wins over Koscheck and Condit. You think that's going to be what it is?
I do think so. Yeah, I do think so, possibly. I mean, like I said, Woodley hasn't been tested recently as much as MacDonald has. So MacDonald's going to keep on continuing to improve, and I believe, like I said, round 3 is going to be interesting. If he doesn't get caught round 1, though, because Woodley has that much power, he's getting more confidence on the feet as well. And there is a little bit of question behind Rory's chin. Now, he's taking some hard shots. He's fought in some top-level competition, but the guy has been rocked several times throughout his career. And, Woodley has that kind of knockout power that he can be definitely dangerous in round 1. So I could see why people are siding with Woodley a little bit more. But, again, I think it's plus money or pass situation.
Damn. Now I'm starting to feel convinced. Now I'm leaning towards MacDonald. Brad Tazchuk, you want to make a strong argument for Tyron Woodley, or do you think that Nick is convincing you as well?
No, Nick's not convincing me on this one. Good. I do think that what I said earlier just still holds true, that anybody who's tried to take Rory MacDonald down and really committed to it has been able to, and Tyron Woodley is one of the best wrestlers, if not the best wrestler, that Rory MacDonald's ever faced. So if his striking does fail him a little bit, as it might, because Rory is a very talented striker, I think he can fall back on the wrestling here, and that's what I really like.
All right, guys, thanks so much. Great preview, as always.